Welcome back to World of Warcraft, the Warlock Journal. I'm Agamemnon on the 1st. Today's broadcast is being recorded on the 5th of September 2018. It's 1:18 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Today's video was captured on the 26th of August 2018. That would have been Sunday. It's actually captured on Monday. Here we are, back with Lurch Manos. He's in Zandalari. I got to always remember to speak slower, or I start not necessarily slurring my words, but they start to run on, start lisping. Left our Warlock on Friday. He was in the middle of doing all these quests on the west side of town. So that's where we're going to start. We're all heading out to the Wounded King, and that's kind of why we're doing, clearing out all this stuff first. And then we're going to head east. This is actually going to be a long video, more than a two-parter. Apparently captured a lot of footage that day.
Speak your business. Zandala.
I think what ended up happening was I didn't record earlier that night, and I decided to record later, and it was around midnight, so I decided to keep on going. Was just thinking from the last video, I was thinking of the word denizen, and I was thinking, is it denizen or denizen? Greek would be denizen. Guess the English person would say denizen. I think even the Latin would be denizen. Although the most popular probably would be denizen. I have this theory that all words are actually mispronounced, but if you say it with confidence and other people think you're smart, they'll just mimic whatever you said. And I think all words are, when you really start to think of it, are all pronounced wrong. And people just go with whatever sounds right. The only problem with these little Loa things is they should have a mechanic on there. When you click on there, it tells you which one you're going to end up at, because it's kind of a shot in the dark. And more times than not, when you hit it, it takes you like nowhere near where you need to go. And it's really an inconvenience to use. So whoever at Blizzard took the time to put all those Loa noids all over the map, they kind of wasted their time when you think of it. There's no reason to use those because it's not convenient. Certainly not convenient for the user, and it's really a pain in the butt. So it's faster just to walk to where you're going. At least you get to where you want to be and not some way off in the wilderness
so I may name mine.
place. And no one's going to remember where the noids go to. They should have it when you click on there. It tells you, like the regular Flight Master, where you're gonna go. Even if it was just a simple list. But it's kind of silly. That was a wasted mechanic in the game, I think. It's one of those, this is this cool feature that no one's ever going to use. They'll use it the one time just to see that it's a pain in the butt, and then they'll never use it ever again. Somebody got a free paycheck. That's all that means. The Taken. Well, if we destroy this guy, he probably will come back in 3 other sequels. The Taken. He'll be back in Taken 2 and Taken 3. They come out with a Taken 4, it should be, what's wrong with you, girl? The first time you were taken, you know, then a second time, now a third time.
For the true kingdom.
And if you were the people who were like taking people, wouldn't you just gave up? I mean, look at all those resources you're expending, all that money you wasted. Just go on to another girl. I mean, it takes like 3 years to make a movie, so girl has to be like 9 years older than she was in the first movie. To be fair, I only saw the first Take It. I didn't really go see the second or third one. I see the point of the movies. I was trying out my fear stuff here and getting used to it. What I'm trying to do is, while I'm walking around doing my PvE thing, I'm trying to come up with ways to defend against people trying to gank my character in PvP. So, trying to know what demons are best to use in PvP. So I'm trying to think of all the different ways people can attack me. And come up with strategies to counter that. And I was practicing all the different crowd control abilities that I have and evaluating their effectiveness. Nothing more annoying when you're in the middle of combat and someone sends you a guild invite. And I don't know who the heck, you're walking around, you see a guy battling and your first instinct is to send him a guild invite? What an idiot. If anything, that's highly inconsiderate. Why would I want to join a guild? People make bad decisions. I mean, really, if they don't know when the best time to send an invite is, you probably don't want to be in that guild. I wish that when people sent you a blind invite for a guild like that, when you're in the middle of combat, you should have a button on there that says kill that person. Instant death. Not a permadeath, but just instant death button for the person that received the invite. That way they would learn not to send people a blind invite. Sure, after they've been killed off 3-4 times, they would realize maybe that's not a good idea to send a blind invite. This was kind of a, I don't know, it was a strange or weird map, but kind of went in a big circle. This quest line ended up being long, as I remember it. Started off like a short, simple quest. Go do this, go do that, and then it seemed to be a huge story around it. But it got into the story of Zul here. You can see as we've been going along, I've been simplifying my toolbar a little more. A lot more spaces are available. I took spells that I haven't really used in a long time and put them back in the spell book.
hope I don't regenerate.
I like when trolls die, they talk shit. Smack talking on the way to death. Even the Loa of Death, that dude's a smack talker too. That's what makes it funny.
The Loa be strong.
If there was like an ultimate smack talker, it'd be the Loa of Death. His name's Mbawi. Some weirdly spelled name. But he's in the shadow of Vol'jin, Shadow of the Horde. He's when you first start off the book, when you get to the part with the Vol'jin, first half of the chapter is just talking to him. The Loa of Death. But if you're looking at the underlying lore, by that I mean stuff that hasn't outrightly been stated in the game, a lot of the dead, like spirits, like the Loa of Death, Helia, they all seem to want Sylvanas to be on their team. And I find it interesting.
May you ever find the tracks of your enemies.
Even the Burning Crusade came to Sylvanas Windrunner back in Warcraft 3. She turned him down. Tell them to take a hike. But at the same time, she helped them. So. But then her only goal at that point was destroying Arthas. Like, I only have one singular purpose, and that's kill Arthas Menethil. So. It's funny that the Burning Crusades were all like, at first they were all, Arthas is our guy, and then they started fighting amongst themselves. And they realized they couldn't defeat him. And then they were like, ally themselves with anybody who could defeat Arthas. Which included Sylvanas Windrunner. Here's where it starts to become kind of... You go into this temple and you deal with all these cultists. And you end up walking in this big circle. I believe I made level in this session, so that turned out to be pretty cool. I'm hoping to get caught up on all these videos this week. My queue is pretty full. I'm gonna finish up this series of videos, and then upload them. Well, I gotta process them first, but then I gotta upload them to YouTube. But I won't be able to process the first video until later tonight. I'm planning to stream today at 5 o'clock. That'll last me all the way until 9 when I do my video capturing for here. And then won't be able to upload anything till, or at least start processing anything till 10 o'clock tonight.
The new troll empire is upon us. Our long stagnation is ending.
I felt these little hologram things kind of reminded me of Star Wars, but the little story that they were telling was kind of interesting. It's foreshadowing the coming of the spirits, I guess would be the correct term. The fall of the empire. At least under King Rusticon. Now remember, we were sent here by Sylvanas to
Is that really the form you choose to walk around
recruit
in?
them into
Choose
the
your
Horde,
lore
but at the same
wisely.
time, our job wasn't really to solve their internal problems. One thing that I noticed with the Jaina story on the Alliance side is that her longer story sort of comes to an end. Guess she makes peace with her mother, and it makes me wonder what's going to happen with the character going forward, because she's sort of entering a different path for the character now of uncertainty.
The time of making bargains with Loa is over. The time of blood has come.
It's going to be interesting watching Jaina Proudmoore. She's in her 40s now, so at some point she's going to be 50 and 60. Are they going to age her as a character in the story? Being in her 40s, she doesn't have a child. She's gonna be hitting menopause here soon. So, I wonder if they're gonna make her become a mother in the story because she has no hairs. And there's no one really in the story, human-wise. Because even though she kind of hangs out with Calicos, he's not a human being. She couldn't father a child with a dragon, can she? Right? That would be pretty interesting, and somehow her biological clock starts ticking here. Anduin's sort of facing that same problem too. At least in Before the Storm, again, Greymane was telling him that he's got to have heirs. Even at his age, he has to consider the future of the kingdom. Jaina Proudmoore too, she needs to start considering that she's not going to live forever. What will that legacy be? Is she just gonna die and all that knowledge she's gained is gonna be lost? Yeah. What if they kill her off as a character? That would be interesting. One thing that Blizzard has not addressed in the story, which they sort of did if you go all the way back to Warcraft 2, was in the Warcraft 2 days, in the first and second war with the orcs, there weren't a lot of female leaders in Azeroth. Except for the elves. In the human sort of realm, someone like Jaina Proudmoore was never groomed to be a leader, or what's her name, Cecile Menethil. She wasn't groomed to be a leader because in those days females didn't assume those roles. But in the current time period that we're in Azeroth, you're seeing, at least on the Alliance side, more and more females taking these dominant roles. And it's never really been addressed in the lore by Blizzard. Now, I'm not saying they should make every leader in the Alliance a female. That would be silly. But if you look at the Alliance side of the characters in the lore, Jaina is definitely one of the more dominant characters, but if you look at the character itself, she's a middle-aged character. You know, her ability to have children is going to be very limited as the years go on, right? Definitely between now and the next expansion. If each expansion takes place in relatively a 5-year period of time, right? And they seem to go in 3-year periods of time. You know, but not in the development, in this timeline of the story, they seem to expand a 3-year period of time. And so she starts this expansion in her early 40s. So midway through this expansion, she's going to be, or towards the end of the expansion, she's going to be, what, 45, right? So, mid-40s. So, And she's no longer in a leadership role. She gave that up. She walked away from it. So,
Zul has got hold of these days.
other than Anduin and Queen
Rise,
Mora
disciples of blood.
for
Get
the
ready for the
dwarves.
next age of this world.
But Mora isn't the dominant leader in the dwarf. They broke it up between 3 different people.